Hello and welcome to Off My Shelves, and this is a bit of a different episode than what we would normally do on the channel because I am in the process of creating a custom bound Usagi Yojimbo comic book essentially, and I am going to be using the IDW floppy comics to create something that will eventually look like this hardback book full of the comics. Now the reason I'm doing this is because way back when Usagi Yojimbo Saga Volume 1 by Dark Horse was really difficult to get, so I decided to design my own hardback using one of the trade paperback Saga issues, and then designed my cover, a wraparound cover, and then just sent it off to a bindery to get it done. Obviously then they reprinted, Saga Volume 1 for those 600 copies and I was able to get one, but either way I love this, and this will be passed on to my daughters and stay with us forever really, because it's a unique book. But I similarly tried to get my hands on the new Usagi Yojimbo series Volume 1 hardcover that is out. It is limited edition, but you can't really get it outside of America at all. So I decided I'll just collect a bulk of my floppies and then get them custom bound in the same type of way. But then I thought it'd be nice to maybe document this as a video to help others who are thinking doing the same, and maybe even get some tips along the process myself, because I've only done this once before. So yeah, I don't know how many episodes this series is going to be, or if it's going to go well or not, but either way, this is the starting point of that. So the printing of this book starts out pretty much the same as what this would do. You get in touch with a bindery and you start the process of sending your comics off to them to be appraised. So I got in touch with a bindery online called Spink and Thackeray, and obviously I'm in the United Kingdom, so they're a UK based bindery. Wherever you are in the world, there will be binders that you can find online and things like that and get tips from them. Ask them as many questions as you can. They might take ages to get back or whatever, but the more clearer that you are, the more comfortable you'll be, because I know a lot of people like myself, these are quite precious, and so you don't want to be sending them off without knowing exactly what's going on with them really. But first things first, you find a bindery and then you send off what you want bound to them to appraise. It's a good idea at this stage to have a sense of what you are going to be doing. So if you are binding 3 trade paperbacks to make a large omnibus, for example, or if you're binding floppies, and having an idea of what you're binding is essential, but then what you're taking out as well. Because for example, in this original Saga issue, I didn't want the original trade paperback cover in here because the paper is very thick and it would mess up the flow of the book, and so I asked them to remove that, and then the rest is fairly straightforward with that. With the individual floppies, you might want to remove adverts, you might want to remove the covers and place them elsewhere in the book, or get rid of them totally. But either way, having an idea so you can give that information to the bindery so they can assess what the job is, how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, is pretty important. So get a clear idea of what you want. For me, I've got 19 issues plus the free comic book day Usagi Yojimbo that I am getting printed. The other thing I will tell you is, depending on where you are in the world, depending on the bindery, some binderies will ask you to prepare the comic books ready for binding. So for example, they'll ask you to take the staples out or to cut the pages ready, things like that. The bindery I'm using doesn't do that. They do all that themselves, and so definitely ask questions, find out what they do and what they don't do, how they want you to prepare your book before you send it to them. And then essentially you send it to them and they get back to you then with the size and scale of the hardback and the cost of the job and all that type of thing. And this is where you have to make a few decisions for yourself really. First off, you've got to make a decision of what type of binding you want. And so for example, on the Spink and Thackeray website, they've got what they do and what they offer, and if you go under the comics section on their website, they will basically tell you what they offer in terms of a full cloth cover, half bound, quarter bound, a full graphic cover. Now I have gone for the full graphic cover. This is a full graphic cover, so what that means is I've created a design that they have printed and then wrapped around the hardback board then. Now obviously you can have a full cloth and you can just have the writing embossed and a fairly straightforward plain cover, or you can give them a page to have as half the cover cover and then do something else with the spine. It's up to you and your preference really, and whatever your bindery does. For our purposes and for this video really, I'm going to focus on the full graphic cover, and what I do normally is I design it myself. Now the reason I do that is because I'm quite creative, I suppose, and I enjoy the process of designing my own covers. When they appraise your books, this is a perfect opportunity for you to have the exact dimensions of what your book is going to be. Because essentially if you were designing the cover yourself in any way, shape or form, the bindery will give you the dimensions that the cover will be. So they'll actually give you what dimensions this cover will be, so you can properly design a cover. They will also specify an overhanging part of the design, which, as you might be able to see here, the cover design is larger than than what you see, because they wrap it around to glue it on and to make sure it's secure. So how I do that as well is I use an online resource called Canva. Now there's loads of software and loads of stuff in Microsoft Office that you can use. It just so happens that I use this one. And what I've done is I created a blank sheet of paper that is the dimensions the bindery specified. And then for this job, I wanted to take inspiration from the poster of Yojimbo, which is an old film that inspired Stan Sakai when he was writing Usagi Yojimbo. And I really like the design and simplicity of the movie film poster of Yojimbo. So I took that as inspiration and then replaced the main character with Usagi Yojimbo. And essentially then I just built up the cover around that. As you can probably see on the screen somewhere, hopefully, I then kind of drew some other graphics, and I did that using my iPad and using Procreate, and then I drew some other images of Usagi for the back, wrote some text, same text I had on here, but I'm going to amend it to have the issues here really, and a bit of the story here, and then put IDW's logo on and stuff like that. The most important thing you're doing when you are doing the design work yourself really is making sure that the template you're using is the exact same dimensions that they give you, with that overlap. Make sure you've got that overlap, because if you haven't got that overlap right, the end of the design might come down here, or it might be too high, the spine might be too high or too low. And so to make sure that that's correct, I use guidelines and rulers and things like that on my design. And so as you can probably see on the picture now, I use blue guidelines on my designs just to make sure that everything is in the right place. And that's essentially what will happen then, is while you were designing that, they're already getting on binding this, and they're just waiting for you to send them the cover design to print on, and that'll be the last bit they do really. You can obviously get lots of optional extras if you want them, but that's totally up to you. What I will be doing next in this next episode is sending off these, getting them appraised, and then giving you a quick update of the costs and the process. And then after that I'm going to be sending along my design to print, and then hopefully at some point you'll be able to see the finished product, and in the next episode we can break down the prices and costs of these a lot more. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful to someone in any way. It's nice for me to document it in general, so even if you don't watch it, it's there for me, for posterity. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed, and I will catch you on the next one.